brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Yeah, this for my dogs from the east to the west side. You rockin' brown and orange with me, baby, let's ride. Represent the land, let them know. Tell them, here we go, brownies. Here we go. Yeah, here we go.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Heiss. I'm coming to you live from Pensacola, Florida. Joining with me, as always, out in beautiful Ohio, we've got Dustin. What's going on? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Allie. We are in Lakewood, Ohio at Western Reserve Distillers. Lots of Browns fans here. The restaurant is packed. They're excited. They're trying. And I know that you and David got to get in here, but come and doing a flight of all the different whiskeys. So come down, guys. If you're ever here, this is the release party, but this whiskey will now be here. Limited barrel batches, 20-year, 8-year, 7-year. You've got to come down and try it. It's amazing whiskey. What do you guys think of the whiskey? Can we give a Here We Go Brownies? Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Woo, woo. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Woo, woo. They approve, Allie.
All right, there it is. There you have it, everybody. So that's pretty cool. Dustin, you got a little bottle next to you that we can show off?
I got. So here is the. This is. Hang on. Let me get. This is the 20. This is the 20-year.
That's pretty cool.
Years. This is the 20-year.
And just
limited release.
A viewpoint of what we've got going on. Here you can see we've got Russell live on the program, kind of giving you a viewpoint of the whole distillery. So we've got a bunch of Browns fans there enjoying the Here We Go Brownies.
We'll have Russell now go through the restaurant and show some of the fans, just everybody that's out here tonight.
Like a great time. Looks like a great time. Now, I do not have any. Hi, David. I do not have any.
The doctor just gave you your own adult beverage. I love it. Allie, newsflash, Allie, guess what's coming your way, though?
What do we got coming my way? Beautiful. Things you just love to hear. Things you just love to see. I knew I needed.
You're going to be able to sample this soon while you're in the great state of Florida.
That's wonderful. As you can see, we've got a great walkthrough here. Looks like a great place. So please be sure to go check them out. Enjoy some Here We Go Brownies whiskey, if you will.
Here's a question I have for David and yourself. I think I know this answer. You like wings, right? Traditional wings?
That's true.
All right. Check this out, Allie. Here in Lakewood at Western Distillers, every Wednesday evening, 50-cent wing night. You can do 6 or 12, but 50 cents. Where can you get a 50-cent wing these days? They're amazing wings, all the different flavors. But get your 50-cent wings here on every Wednesday. Here's the really cool thing, Allie, and we talked about this. This is going to be a great partnership, a collaborative. We're actually going to start having themed drinks once a month that we're going to be able to share with our viewers, that we can actually, have some themed drinks and have some things to push out to the public that are fun drinks. Maybe Here We Go Brownie themed. We don't know. Stay tuned for that. But some fun cocktails that you can enjoy with this wonderful Here We Go Brownies whiskey.
So let me ask you, what is your favorite whiskey cocktail? Mine personally is what I'm drinking tonight. I've got a Paper Plane. It's my go-to, or a whiskey smash. Do you have a preferred bourbon or whiskey cocktail?
I like the smash. I like the smash, but I'm also, me, I don't like things.
Dustin's on the screen.
You know that I don't like, I like things sweet. You know this, I like my coffee, right? So I also like things with a little bit of more stuff in them, right? So I like to mix it up and put some simple syrups and stuff in the whiskey too and try it. So I'm always mixing it up. But you know what I sometimes do, honestly? I'll just do, how I do a rum and Diet Coke? I'll do a whiskey and Diet Coke too. I know that sounds crazy. Yeah, but I
crazy. Yeah. All right, let's get into it. We've got a jam-packed show for you tonight. We're really excited. We're going to welcome on Charley Hughlett, the long snapper, to the program, one of the longest tenured Cleveland Browns, to the program here in just a few moments. Later on, we've got Stump Mitchell joining the podcast. Really excited about that. Stay tuned for some exciting news regarding that. Of course, Dr. David Ullery later on in the program. We got some things to talk about. We've got some football, Dustin.
Hey, is that August? Is there football tomorrow night? Is there football tomorrow night?
We've got some football going on in my hometown, Canton, Ohio. So just really excited. Some really cool things going on, but we got some Browns football to talk about. Let's get into it. What's going on at training camp? We've had some media availability. Deshaun Watson spoke. Mike Vrabel spoke. Kevin Stefanski spoke. Where do you want to start? What do we talk about?
Well, I'll tell you this. There's a guy here that's having this camera. He talked to Mike Vrabel today. There's going to be some information that's going to come out about him in the near future. But I really like the stuff that came out from Mike Vrabel about specifically he chose this team. He respects what Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have done with this organization in a short amount of time, as he put it. He respects what this organization is doing. And he knows he'll be a coach again someday. We all know that, right? He's too talented. He's too good of a player to do that. So that's where I want to start talking. It's just that piece in itself. Yeah. I think he's going to be a very valuable opinion in the room, but not try to get in people's way, if that makes sense. I know I brought this up a couple weeks ago, and I said, why aren't people talking about Mike Vrabel? Well, all of a sudden, Mike Vrabel gets an interview, and he gets a lot of it gets on the Pat McAfee show. All of it's out there. I'm like, hey, this is what people should be talking about in the media, because this is what we're not talking about. It's how big Mike Vrabel is going to be for this staff. It's like having two head coaches. He's an Ohio guy. He loves this state, so I think it's going to be a great addition to this coaching staff. So that's my opinion.
I just want to highlight an article by Patrick Warren on clevelandbrowns.com highlighting Mike Vrabel and his unique role with the Cleveland Browns. And if you didn't know, which is just so cool, but I mean, Mike Vrabel is a Northeast Ohio native. And a quote that really just stood out to me here is, he said, I absolutely ate dog bones. I mean, I don't think you're a Browns fan in middle school in Northeast Ohio if you didn't try to get a couple of those. They would make dog bones into necklaces, and you just kind of go down and grab one every once in a while. I mean, who's that come to mind? I think Big Willie right off the bat. And it just goes to talk about the fan base and, everything regarding who Browns fans are. I mean, we live, eat, and breathe Cleveland Browns football. But to talk about his unique role with the Cleveland Browns, and he's been given kind of a list of tasks, and started with the NFL draft, given a list of players to kind of scout and really look into, bring to the table, and have those open and honest discussions. But you're right. One thing that I think Browns fans can be really optimistic about is you have two coach of the year, finalists or winners in your organization.
Right.
When has that ever happened before? I mean, I'm sure there's probably times. Never. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. But I mean, you've got situation here where you've got a lot of really, really smart, not only guys, but football players within this organization to just guide you in the direction that we're so excited to go. The upward trajectory of this team is truly unbelievable. We've talked about this window that we foresee this team to have, but man, Dustin, I feel really good, hearing some of this press availability as it pertains to Vrabel, Stefanski, and some of these players. Like, I'm just really, really energized.
Well, here's one for you. Let me throw this at you. I don't know if you were able to catch this, but they caught Andrew Berry off. You know that you always look for those golden nuggets in an interview, and Andrew Berry is usually pretty tight-lipped. But he kind of leaned towards Brook Park, and what he thought the fans and what it would mean to the fans and the players. But he goes, don't we prefer Brook Park? Like, he just kind of it was weird. Like, it's not a good, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but Andrew Berry doesn't normally operate. You know what I'm saying? That's not how he operates. And for him to just kind of like, people are like, oh, well, what did you say? And he's like, well, remember. And then he kind of I don't know if you saw that, he backpedaled a little bit. And he said, well, of course, we'll be happy with whatever situation, if it's on the lakefront or in Brook Park. But it was interesting how he might have showed his card a little bit. It was interesting. And I don't think he meant to do that. And I'm sure, like, Jimmy was like, all right, good job.
Well, we'll talk about that here in just a moment. We are excited to bring on long snapper for the Cleveland Browns, Charley Hughlett. Before we do so, here's a quick word from our friends over at Lorello Vineyards.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Woof, woof.
Hello, welcome to Lorello Vineyards. Larry and Kim Lorello. We have a beautiful Here We Go Brownies wine that we would like to offer to you this season as we did last season. We have several other award-winning wines, lovely entertainment and events coming this summer. So come and see us, wine a bit, you'll feel better.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you at the Muni lot this fall. Go Browns.
This interview with Charley Hughlett is brought to you by our friends over at Lorello Vineyards. Charley, how are you? Thanks for taking the time for us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Doing well.
Good. Happy to hear it. I know you're a busy guy, so we really appreciate it. But talk to us. How are things? I know you're down at Greenbrier. Talk to us. How are things in the life of Charley Hughlett?
Pretty good. Just getting acclimated to camp, and kind of just got out of meetings here a little bit ago, and no, things have been good. We've been spending a lot of time together, which is always good, and kind of getting away, and just able to focus on football. So far so good.
So Charley, a couple questions for you. I mean, you and Joel Petonio, the two tenured guys, you've been through it. You've been through it all with the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, this is the second year at Greenbrier, a little different compared to, the years past. Walk us through that. I mean, a lot of the players say they like that. I know because Kevin Stefanski was a big fan and proponent of getting this moved out of Berea and out of all the noise. We all love our sports teams here, and, you can't go anywhere and have somebody bark at you or whatever, and to kind of take that out of Cleveland and just kind of focus on football and fundamentals and team and chemistry. What has that been for you in that space differently from a traditional training camp, and how have you adapted to that? I know today was more of a film and study day. I know you guys weren't in the, I believe, practice pads today, and I heard it was very sultry and very wet and humid out there in Greenbrier. So just kind of walk us the difference, how it is there versus doing training camp in Berea.
I mean, I think the biggest difference really is more of just the time spent together, as a team. And I think it's mostly about building that team chemistry and camaraderie. We're all hanging out at night together. We're all, even on our off day, we're out playing golf. We're doing activities together. There's a lot of things for us to do, at the hotel here. So I really think that's kind of more what it's about. And I will, speak to last year. I mean, last year was one of the, most kind of together groups I've been a part of. And I really do think like the foundation of that was built at the Greenbrier. So I'm definitely happy that we made the move to come back.
It's really interesting. You look at you and Joel, right? Two of the longest tenured Cleveland Browns. You've seen it all. You've done it all. You've gone through the lean years, and you've had, the highs and lows. What's different with this team, under Kevin Stefanski and this coaching staff? Dustin and I were just talking about, man, things just really seem to be looking up. We're really excited for this team and what all you can achieve this year. What's different about this year versus the past, couple of years?
I mean, it's easy to say the talent, it's something that I think, a lot of teams this time of year, like, everybody thinks that they have a chance to win a Super Bowl, and, and a lot, everybody does at this point, but knowing the talent level we have on our roster, I mean, it's a real opportunity for us. We really know that that's a real potential for us. And then, the other part of it is kind of what I was saying about coming to the Greenbrier. Like it's a tight knit group. We all hang out. We all like each other. There's no it seems like, teams in the past, there might be a guy or two that you're just kind of like, that guy's not really bought in. And that doesn't seem to be the case over the last few years, and especially this year as well.
So here's a question for you, Charley. So we are actually, we like to make our podcast fun and entertaining. So we actually are doing the Here We Go Brownies whiskey release tonight at Western Distillers in Lakewood. Have you ever been out to Lakewood or spent some time in Lakewood?
Actually, my first year in Cleveland, we lived in the Lakewood area, but I have not been to the distillery.
Yeah, so they have a Western Reserve Distillers there. It's a great restaurant. If you're a wing guy, you strike me as a wing guy. So they got 50-cent wing nights here every Wednesday, but they release the whiskeys here. So you'll have to come try the Here We Go Brownies 2010 and 7-year whiskey. So if you're a whiskey guy, we just released that tonight here, right here in Lakewood. So let me just pivot a little bit. As you're going to be coming back here, and we don't want you to give away the film, right, or anything. Do you see any fun surprises or interesting, unique changes that you think the fans will see different in the offense this year than in years past? I know David Njoku he said it's going to be spicy. He said that at a press conference. So I'm just curious, is there some unique wrinkles that, and as you know, the kickoff game and where it starts, I mean, this is the thing, right? So I know that they have talked about how they're going to position players for that, and how that will be challenging for defenses and stuff and special teams, but kind of walk us through that. What are you seeing without, obviously we don't want you to give away, any secrets or anything, but what are you seeing different and what are you excited, I guess, most about?
Well, as far as, the offense goes and stuff like that, I'm unfortunately not in those meetings. And really even at practice, we're kind of down while we're at Greenbrier, we have a whole nother field that's like down the side of a mountain. So we're down there kind of working on our own. So
that makes sense.
what I've been able to see of the offense has been limited, but I will say things look like they've been clicking well. Deshaun's slinging the ball really well, and obviously everything looks like it's going in the right direction. But talking about the kickoff, that's going to be really interesting to see kind of how that play evolves over the first like quarter to half a season. I think there's going to be a lot of like experiments kind of going on. You'll see some teams kind of trying out some different things, and then as the season moves on, it'll kind of start to solidify. But it's going to be a very different looking play. I think there's going to be a lot of potential for a lot of big returns, and potentially setting up a better field position for offense. So it'll be really interesting to see how that develops. I mean, I think we're all kind of trying to figure it out as we go a little bit.
Yeah, I think go ahead, Allie.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you're right. I think it's definitely a challenge for offenses and defenses. How they're going to place the ball, how the offense or the kickoff is going to respond to this. It's funny you mentioned that because we have a friend of the program, Eric Metcalf, right, former Brown, big time guy. He's like, bring it. I love bringing those kickbacks and do it against the Pittsburgh Steelers twice in one game. So I think, it's going to bring some excitement to the fans for sure. Right. And I think I think the Browns will obviously, like you said, that first quarter of the season, you're going to have to kind of figure out what guys you want back there. Right. Because if you miss that first line of defense, some guy could be off to the races because of where you pick up that ball and run. So I think it'll be exciting for the fans, but quite challenging for special teams. Right. Like it's like, we don't want Dustin Hopkins running down and taking a guy out on those, like put another guy over there and do that. Right. So it's like, it'll be challenging for, on the special teams for sure. So.
Yeah. And we'll definitely I think it's going to be something, especially in preseason, we're going to kind of see how it develops and it's just going to be something you figure out as you go a little bit.
Talk about being at Greenbrier and, all of the team camaraderie. You're not just practicing football right now. You're playing golf. You're doing all of these things. Who is the best golfer on the Cleveland Browns?
We've had some great ones in the past, and I'm not really aware of. Like we've had some scratch golfers in the past. Like Case Keenum was a scratch guy. Britton Colquitt, back a couple years he was close to scratch. Right now I'm hearing Joel Bitonio's on a pretty decent hot streak. And Cade York is actually a pretty good golfer too. Those are the two that sticks out. I mean, I don't think we have any like guys that are, shooting 72s, but they're solid.
What's Charley Hughlett shooting?
I like to hang around 90.
Okay.
I like to hang around. If I break 90, it's a good day. I'm usually in the 90 to 95 range. Yeah.
Hey, that's a great place to be. That's nice. But I've heard that Britton Colquitt, he was the guy when he was with the team. Like he could call his shot and just put it wherever he wanted it.
He really could. And it was actually annoying because I asked him, I started playing golf like 10 years ago. And I was expecting him to kind of be one of those guys that started when he was like 4, and just because of how good he was. And he's like, oh, I started playing, 5 years ago. And I was like, what? Like I've never heard of that. I've never heard of an adult, like somebody picking you up as an adult and being close to scratch. I think that's unheard of.
Speaking of Eric Metcalf, I played my very first round of golf 2 or 3 years ago. Actually with Eric Metcalf. He was my golf partner, him and Dustin. And my first tee shot, I actually drove directly into Kevin Mack, literally hit his golf cart. So that scarred me for life. However, I've taken lessons and now I'm like kind of in the 80s, like 84 is it. So I'm still getting there, but I heard golf and I'm like, I gotta know who's the best Cleveland Browns golfer. What about the coaches? Are they partaking in any golf game?
I do believe they got out for a round. I'm not exactly sure who all did, but I think quite a few of them got out there to golf. I mean, it's a great course here. They have the live tournament. It's all like getting set up for it. Last year when we played, they had all the stands set up and everything because it was literally the next weekend. So it was cool to get out and play then. But yeah, no, I think quite a few people played, players and coaches.
Really cool. Go ahead, Dustin.
So here's a question for you. We get to see all these videos from camp and guys interacting. So I saw this from the golf outing you guys did. The Browns alumni or the Browns golf was May or June of this year. You did that in Cleveland, right? We all did a golf thing. Here's what I want to know, and this is my thought, because I like to karaoke, full disclosure. And I got to tell you, JOK can carry a tune. Like he can, like JOK. So who do you think is the best singer? Because I think JOK could definitely kill it at karaoke or sing a song. Like, because they're doing the Mountain Mama, and you guys are going around and having some fun with that. But man, JOK can carry a tune. What do you think, Allie? Because I've heard some of JOK's. He's
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
So I think I saw the video you were talking about, and I was shocked because I don't think I had heard him sing to that point. And you're right, he can sing very well. Siaki can sing really well.
Okay.
He'll kind of casually sing in the locker room, and then I remember, we always make the rookies get up and sing a song for us, and I remember him doing that, and he did really well. And really, that's about all I can think of. I'm sure there's somebody else who's not really singing that can, but those are the two that come to mind.
So I'll get you out of here on this one, Charlie.
Allie, just to second that piece. What do you do? Like, the fans like to know, like, what gets you going for game day, right? So we talked about music. What is in your playlist of your top 3 songs that get you going on game day?
Oh man, I'm a classic rock guy, so I'll have some like Metallica and like Motley Crue going. Enter Sandman's kind of the one that's like when it's getting ready to get out there. That's the one I throw on. But it kind of changes over the years. I mean, I've AC/DC, like that was kind of what my dad raised me on, was that kind of music. So that's my go-to.
So I'm actually getting married in November, and we're kind of at that point where we're like, okay, we got to figure out our entrance and everything to the reception, and Enter Sandman is definitely on that list. So that'd be pretty cool. I'll get you out of here on this one, Charlie. I know that Stefanski was asked this question, so I'm going to ask it to you too. Are you in favor of a dome, or are you in favor of how the stadium currently is?
I have mixed feelings about it. I enjoy playing on the lake. I kind of, as frustrating as the weather can be for, my job and what I do. I do feel like it kind of gives us a bit of an advantage in some ways, just because we're able to go down there and practice throughout the week from time to time. I'm personally very used to it. Whatever we do, that stadium's always going to have a soft spot, in my heart. But I mean, really, ultimately, whatever's going to have the fans in there being as loud as possible. I will say those domes get extremely loud because the noise is all trapped in there. And whatever's going to give them the best experience, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
I was just going to say, Charlie, you bring up a good point. The fans are rabid, right? I went to the last game against the Jets. And I can tell you that the electricity in that building, and you felt it on the field with the lights going and the flickering. That game was won, in my opinion, before it started because of the intimidation factor. Take all those fans and put them with that same loudness in a dome. I think we become the highest decibel fan base in the NFL. I mean, that's just, and I'm not being, that's not a homer pick, but I just think that would happen just because we're such rabid fans.
No, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. I mean, when that place is rocking and rolling, it's already really loud, and you throw a roof on top and just keep all that sound trapped in there. It's going to be, you won't be able to hear anything. It'll be awesome.
Second to none. It is one of a kind. Charlie, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Go Browns. That is long snapper Charley Hughlett. He was awesome. I love getting players on that bring the energy and just enjoy, sharing their insights from training camp and everything that they've got going on with the team. So that was really cool. Glad we were able to talk to him. We do want to tell you about our friends over at 5 Iron Golf. We were talking to Charlie about golf. Dustin, tell us about 5 Iron Golf.
So 5 Iron Golf, guys. If you are in downtown Cleveland or coming to visit Cleveland, 5 Iron Golf is on Euclid Avenue, right in downtown Cleveland. Great for fans coming to Cleveland or fans that are here. If you use the code Brownie40, BROWNIE 40, you get 40% off your golf rental. That's right. If you go in there with some friends, it's 40% off the rental, almost half off. Who doesn't want that in this economy, right? 40% off. It's like the best discount in the world. Brownie 40 at 5 Iron Golf in downtown Cleveland. Go visit them today.
In this economy. That was really cool, Dustin, being able to talk to Charley, one of the longest tenured Cleveland Browns.
10 years. 10 years.
It's crazy to think. One, he's been so consistently good at his job and being able to just boost special teams in such a big way over the past 10 years.
Think about how many head coaches he's went through as well.
Exactly. Like I said in my question that I asked him, you've gone through it, man. You've the lean years with this team. You've seen the ugly, the good, the bad, the ugly. And like we've talked about early on in the show, man, we really are on this upward slope and excited to be there. And you can feel it from the players that we've talked to. Even last week with Drayton Welch on the show, being able to talk to them and or other players and their just enthusiasm regarding this football team. It's very exciting. It really is. It's very exciting and exciting time to be a Browns fan. We're going to bring on our next guest here in just a moment. Before we do so, I want to tell you about our friends over at Stadium Mustard. Guys, if you have Stadium Mustard in your kitchen this season, you are doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, beloved from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard is a smooth brown mustard rich in both taste and tradition. By the way, loved by millions. So be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now. Let's bring them on. Stump Mitchell to the program. Stump, how you doing?
I'm great. And yourself?
Doing wonderful. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Let's kick it off. We've got a lot to talk about, Stump. We've got football in the air just happening tomorrow, right? We've got the Hall of Fame game coming up. We've got CJ Stroud. We've got Caleb Williams. We've got a lot to talk about. One thing that stands out to me, and I don't know if this happens to you as a former coach, Stump, but this time of year is where I start getting that feeling of, oh, I'm just so excited. Just a couple of more weeks until we're back into it. The energy starts to pick up. I'm excited to listen to all things football. Does that happen to you where you just kind of feel the excitement as we get into August?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is my first year out of football in a long time, but knowing what's coming to play tomorrow, the Hall of Fame game is going to be awesome. You got Coach Eberflus, who's from the Ohio area, born there in Toledo. You also have CJ Stroud coming back, even though he's not playing close to Ohio State. These guys are trying to get in and see what they can do. It's a big game for the guys that's going to be playing because those guys are auditioning for 31 other teams. Now that you have guys that are drafted for the most part, if they're not on that 53, they saw something in them for them to hopefully be on the practice squad. So it's a huge game for both squads.
Yeah. What would you, when, you were coaching and, we were playing, the Cleveland Browns were playing, and whether it be the Hall of Fame game or a preseason game, what was your message to some of those guys that were maybe on the cusp, whether or not they were going to make the team, just on the fringe there? What was your message to those guys to go out and put on a show? You've got several other teams watching you. How did you kind of approach that situation?
Every position coach knows that he has players in his room, and we try to get the best out of them. Unfortunately, there are going to be injuries. So the time we put in to each player, we're hoping that can bring them to the ability where we say, hey, somebody went down. Unfortunately, that's the business. But now I know I got this guy. He can go out and he can play. He can make it happen for us. We don't have to go anyplace else and look for anybody else because we got the guy right here. The scouting department has done a hell of a job of trying to get guys that they know can eventually one day be a starter for a short period of time or whatever length of time we need him to be.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, so obviously you got to see the Texans up front, in the playoff game last year, up close and personal, Stump. So obviously tomorrow night you've got the Texans playing in that preseason game. What are you looking for when you look at that team? Obviously, you saw them. That was the last team you saw, basically, on the field. What do you think the Houston Texans are going to be like this year? And what do you see from that staff? And obviously, what do you think of Caleb Williams? Obviously, you have some relationships there with the quarterback's coach, Kerry Joseph. And just walk us through what you're looking for. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you look at games way different than the fan does, right? You look through a coach's lens. You see things in the television that the average fan may miss, or something that that'll jump out at you. But what are you most excited as you watch that preseason game tomorrow? What are you looking for from those two staffs in that game?
Well, this is a huge game for the Texans. I mean, Andre Johnson played for the Texans. He's the first player going in for their team into the Hall of Fame. D'Amico Ryan was there. I mean, he's coaching. So these guys are excited for that, their team. All those guys. Case Keenum, let me tell you, if he gets in the ball game, because CJ is not playing, but those two quarterbacks that's getting in the ball game right now, I think Case is listed as the number 3 guy. But Case is preparing to be the number 1 guy. That's just who he is. You saw when he was in Cleveland, when he played, he performed. He had the players had the utmost respect for him. So all those backup players, they're going in and they're trying to perform. And now when you talk about Chicago, Caleb, he's not going to be playing. But that offensive coaching staff that they have right now, they got 3 guys from Seattle with the quarterback, Kerry Joseph being the quarterback coach. Did a magnificent job as a player in college at McNeese State. Played defensive back with the Seattle Seahawks for 3 years when I was there. Played defensive back, even though he played quarterback at McNeese. Then he went over to Canada and he played quarterback. And they won a championship there in Canada. He did. Then he came back to the league. He's been coaching and he's done a heck of a job. Gino last year had his best couple years in Seattle with the offensive staff that they have right now. So Caleb is going to be being coached by a young man that has played the position. Kerry was a great passer, but he also was one of, I think, about 3 quarterbacks to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season at Canada. So Caleb being at USC, I think his completion percentage is like 67%. He really didn't throw many interceptions in college. He was good at that. I think what they're going to do with that offensive staff is just get him to make sure he's capable of being himself and going out and executing the offense the way they want it. I think he's going to like his ability to relate to Kerry because of what Kerry's done. He can tell him everything from both sides, from the defensive side and also the offensive side, because he's played and been successful on both sides of the ball.
He's got a lot of pressure. Caleb does. And obviously, he's the number 1 overall draft pick. He's going to have that. And going into a Chicago team that with Justin Fields was relatively successful. And then you bring in Keenan Allen, you bring in all of these guys, DeAndre Swift. What would your, as a coach, what would your message be to a young player that's stepping into such a huge role? You had this with Nick Chubb even, how do you relay that message of, hey, you got a lot of pressure on your back, but you got to go out and earn it? Like, what does that conversation look like as a position coach?
Well, I think as a position coach, you just tell a guy, be yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, we got you here for a reason. It's because of something that you've done in the past. And he's been successful in the past. Played at USC. He's been successful. They understand that. He don't have to do no more than what he's capable of doing, what they've seen him being able to do. So I think he's in a great position, and to surround him with Caleb and, like you said, Swift, can just a great opportunity to be successful because of the guys that they have around him.
Yeah.
So Stump, here's a question for you. I know, just to shift gears a little bit. Obviously, you're a big fan of Nick Chubb. Everybody, it's the $1 million question. Obviously, you're looking, you're watching. You don't have to share any of your personal conversations that you have with him. But where do you see him? I mean, nobody wants to bet against Nick Chubb, What do you see from him so far? You know, like you look at that, we're going to have Dr. David Ullery, who is a part of our program that does, you know, he actually does surgeries and stuff like that. But from an eyeball test, where do you see Nick, and what do you think his prognosis is?
Well, any running back for the most part, their survival depends on the offensive lineman doing their job. I know Chad O'Shea, those receivers, they do a heck of a job as far as catching the ball, but he does a hell of a job of working those guys behind off in terms of being where you're supposed to be, getting your block. And so Nick's success is going to be based on how everybody else is doing their job.
Yeah.
No question. I mean, Bill Callahan was on those offensive linemen behind big time. We watched those guys practice. I don't think there's a tougher group of guys in terms of practicing and getting every second out of the amount of time that they have on the practice field. So if they can do what they're capable of doing, I know Nick will do what he's done in the past.
Just to kind of piggyback off of that a little bit, you know, we talked about coaching a player that has a lot of pressure. You know, we talked about Caleb Williams and even Nick Chubb. But when you look at a player like Nick Chubb, especially, you know, as his position coach, you know, what was it like to coach somebody that was just absolutely elite at their position? And not only that, but would just put their head down and work, you know, no drama, no nothing, just head down working, kind of who you want as your number one back. What was it like to be Nick Chubb's position coach?
It was great because we spent more time watching each and every offensive lineman. So we knew what they could and they could not do. Going into last season, it was my goal for Nick, and I relayed that to him, that he needed to average over 6 yards a carry. That's what he needed to average, because analytics said that if you don't average 6 yards a carry, it's really no need in running the ball. So that was put out there, and that was Nick's goal. And unfortunately, you know, he got hurt, but still, with the numbers of carries last year, he averaged 6.1 yards. So you have to look at things as they are, and you have to still have a goal and see what I need to do now to accomplish that goal, because we knew we were not going to have more than 18 carries a game for the most part, but it was our goal to lead the league in rushing.
Yeah, go on, Dustin.
So Stump, you know, obviously we've talked a little bit about this. We're excited to very soon announce that you are going to, so this is like breaking news for anybody that's watching this podcast, that you're going to join A&D Media and the Here We Go Brownies Network as Stump Talk Podcast. I know I'm excited about this. I know we were on a three-way call earlier. I know Allie's going to love this because she's going to pick the hell out of your brain on a bunch of stuff. And you know what? It's going to be hard to stump Trump. Stump. That's a tongue twister.
What?
Stump. But Allie's also hard to stump. This is why we live. It's a live podcast. That's why we love a live podcast. But it's going to be fun to see people try to stump you on questions. But Allie, talk about it a little bit and what exciting things we have coming.
Oh, we're so excited. We're so excited to welcome Stump Mitchell on to A&D Media and the Here We Go Brownies Podcast Network. You know, one thing about Stump Mitchell, and Stump, this is our first interview. The last time you were on the podcast, I wasn't able to join. What you can expect from this podcast that he's going to put on is just a wealth of knowledge, but from a very personable standpoint. So Stump, we're just so excited to have you. And look, I've got a lot of ideas, and I'm so excited to pick your brain. So welcome. We're just thrilled.
I appreciate it. I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're excited. So guys, stay tuned. In the next few weeks, we'll launch that. We'll have information out there. If you want to follow him, by the way, it is on YouTube, Stump Talk Podcast. On Twitter, it is Coach Stump Media. And on Instagram, it is Stump Talk Podcast at gmail.com. That's his Instagram. So guys, follow him out there on his socials. This is all new because Stump has been coaching and putting his head to the nose to the grindstone. So now he's going to get into the space and talk sports, talk coaching, and talk players. And like we talked about, Stump, you have a book of people to go talk to and a great wealth of knowledge to share with football people. And you have an open media now. You know, you don't have to, you know, you can speak your own mind now, which I think is going to be great. You don't have to go through a PR department. This is I'll call it the unmasked of Stump. He can say whatever he wants. It's, you know, it's his own free will and his own opinion. So I think, like I was telling you earlier, Stump, through the comments here, we miss you, Stump. You're the best. So I think people are going to be excited for this and to hear what the coach has to say.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.
Stump, we'll get you out of here on this one. Our friend James asked the question, what's your favorite memory of coaching Nick and Kareem?
I would say just the effort those guys, they give, you know, understanding the situation. Of course, both of those guys would have loved to carry the ball more, but they understood where we're at in football right now. You have quarterbacks that's going to, some of them might even pass the ball 400 times during the course of the year. That didn't happen in the past. But the passing game is the most important part of how the game is seen. So in terms of running it, it's not going to happen. But every time those guys had an opportunity to run the ball, I just admired the effort that they gave. If they had to pass block for the most part, I love the effort that they gave. And it was just a thrill.
Yeah. And one other thing, I know I said I'd get you out on that one, but I've got one more that I just thought of. We just asked Charley Hughlett, the long snapper, what he thought about a domed stadium versus what they currently have. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if the outside stadium is sort of like Seattle's, that's probably the loudest stadium I've ever been in, whether it's a dome, which it's not, but it's louder than any dome stadium I've been in, and it's just the best. And they have terrible weather as well. I think that should be left up to the fans, because really they're the one who have to bear it. They've been bearing it for a long time.
Well,
as for players, yes, you may have an advantage, but you know, I don't think any of those players would not mind not having an outdoor stadium and have the luxury of being in an indoor stadium.
Yeah, definitely.
well, Stump, I will tell you this. Allie does not like the cold, so she would absolutely love the dome. I'm torn. I think Charley did bring up a good point. He does think that gives the Browns a little bit of an edge on the lakefront there when it deals with the elements when it comes to later in the season, like when Nick Chubb starts running the ball more, right, and does those type of things. But he also brought up the amount of the rabid fans of Cleveland. If you put them in a dome, it'll just be even electrified. You know what I'm saying? That sound, because the Browns fans are so passionate. Now you put them all in a dome. So I think but at the end of the day, you're right. Who's going to have to vote on that? The people of Ohio are going to have to vote on that, what they want. Do they want a dome, or do they want that? And do they want to put the money into it? So you're right. The fans ultimately will decide with their vote in their pocketbook, right? At the end of the day, what they want for the state of Ohio.
Yeah, I think the fans, ultimately, I think the majority would be, especially your older fans, they would say, yeah, I've put up with that cold enough. Put me inside.
I live in this. I just moved actually from the Carolinas down to Florida, so I am acclimated to the warm weather. But I come home to Ohio every year for Christmas and everything like that. I'll tell you what, Stump. Last year over Christmas, or maybe it was 2 years ago, I don't remember, but it was at one point -12, and I said, I'm out. I can't do this. I can't do this.
Well, Allie, let me tell you. You will never, I don't care how cold it is, you will never see Nick Chubb with a long sleeve shirt on. You will never see him with tights on. He'll tell you, I was born in December. So if you ask Nick, he's going to want an outside stadium.
That's unbelievable. I was born in December. That's iconic right there. Give me a T-shirt with that on it. That's great.
There we go. Hey, Stump, speaking of T-shirts, I love your T-shirt you're wearing tonight. Paul Brown football. Look at that. How cool is that T-shirt?
Oh yeah, once the Brown, always the Brown.
That's right.
There it is. Hey, so we're excited to have you on. We're so excited. So more announcements to come in that regard on how you can catch Stump Mitchell via A&D Media. So we're really excited about that. But thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
So excited. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Have a
Go
nice
Browns.
night.
All right, that is Stump Mitchell. Again, more news to come on that front, but we're really excited to welcome him to the family. Stay tuned. Some really cool things coming.
By the way, that's why people love live broadcasts, because you might say the word
Trump. Dear God, Dustin. It's a good one. That's a new one. That's a new one. We've never done that before. That's something else. Dustin, why don't you tell our listeners about Teresa's Pizza?
Guys, Teresa Pizza. If you've not had it, check them out in Mayfield Heights or University Heights. And by the way, guys, been around since 1969 in Cleveland, man. If you're not doing it right, you don't stay in business that long, because pizza is a big deal. Let's go over there, enjoy their pizza, lunchtime, dinner time. You have a company that needs to cater and you want to cater, go to that University Heights location, cater your local businesses here in the greater part of Northeast Ohio. But Teresa Pizza, go get it. It's amazing pizza, great stuff. Support a local business. University Heights and Mayfield Heights, Teresa's Pizza.
There you go. There you have it. Also want to tell you about our friends over at Hartville Marketplace. Guys, if you haven't been to Hartville, I suggest you get down there. On the indoor aspect of the flea market, they've got everything you could possibly need. And by the way, it is heated and cooled year round. So it doesn't matter what time of year you go, but you can get your hands on some vintage goods. They've got food, they've got drinks, they've got coffee, they've got it all. Then head outside. They've been open for quite some time. They've got over 12 acres of outdoor vendor space. So please be sure to go check them out over at Hartville Marketplace and Flea Market. And
as I say, Allie, with that, Hall of Famer Paul Warfield, Cleveland Brown, will be down there this weekend. And also our good friend of the program, Bob Golick. You know, we talked about your dad maybe making a trek down the old to Hartville. You know, because he does listen to him Monday through Friday. We learned that
he does.
a little while ago. that he
listens to Golick way more than he listens to this podcast, by the way.
Well,
way more.
Well, maybe we need to change that, but that's, you know what, your dad probably watches the reruns, though. I'm assuming your dad watches the reruns.
When he catches it, he'll call me like, "What'd you talk about?" And fill him in, and then he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go listen to Golick."
But
That's
I tell you what, we need to have another grandma appearance, because that was awesome. That was amazing. And we gave her restaurant a free shout out. I loved it. That was amazing. So
yes, we did. Yes, we did. All right, we're going to bring on Dr. David Ullery to the program. But before we do so, Dustin, why don't you tell our friends about City Barbecue?
City Barbecue, guys, if you have not tried it, get in there. 7 Northeast Ohio locations. And by the way, we are giving away a $50 gift card, guys. Go out there now, get that $50 gift card so you can get that. Go to our page, go to our Facebook page, enter and do all the rules that we have there. $50 gift card to go with your family or friends to City Barbecue. By the way, I've been out there a couple times. Amazing barbecue. More fun things to come from those guys. But City Barbecue is amazing. Go try it. 7 Northeast Ohio locations. Check one out in your community. Medina, Solon, wherever you're at. Strongsville, they got them everywhere.
So when we advertised City Barbecue and the giveaway that we were giving with the gift cards, my sister texted me and said, "I know you're about to give these to me." And I said, "I'm actually not. You have to go share everything just like any other person would."
And then and you got to tell her it's an algorithm. And you know what's funny? Your sister lives in Columbus, correct? Am I correct on that? Well,
Yep.
That's where they're founded. So I'm assuming there are a lot of.
Al Heisong is a big fan of City Barbecue. Big fan.
So,
He loves brisket.
so there's a lot of barbecue down there in Columbus, and I'm assuming your sister was excited to go get some of that. So, hey, you know what? Maybe we can hook her up. Maybe how about this? I got an idea. Maybe maybe she can give the Here We Go Brownies a shout out, and she gets to go in there and enjoy some city barbecue from Columbus and tell us how much she loves it and how everybody should go try it out. How about that?
Okay,
Then
here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna edit this clip and just send it to her. And
okay.
say, Isabel, this is what you have to do. And she's just gonna text me back and say, okay.
Doctor, what do you think of that, Doctor? You okay with that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. At first, I was about to say that sounds like a conflict of interest if we're going to be giving
she's
giving
not-
awards out to Isabel.
No, Isabel
but
gets to go enjoy it. She just has to give city barbecue and
Yeah,
that's
you
free.
stop.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm all for it. Speaking of barbecue, we explored some barbecue in Florida, of all places, a couple weeks ago. We had some what they're calling New Orleans barbecue, and let me tell you, it was outstanding. It was a mix of like
Spicy.
Creole, a little bit of Creole, a little bit of French inspiration, along with like true Southern barbecue. Oh, it was awesome. We loved it right away.
They call it's a place down here, Dustin. It's called Voodoo Barbecue, and not to give them a free shout out because I don't believe in that, but nonetheless, it was New Orleans style barbecue here in the Panhandle. It was killer. It was so good. It was phenomenal. So believe it or not, there's some good barbecue down here in Florida. But David, what do we got going on?
So I finally have some news. Finally have some updates now that we've got some camp going. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown, and then you guys can kind of, I guess, decide which direction we take it. But I've got at least 5 things to touch on for us, which is amazing because it's, it's all been, Nick Chubb or Deshaun Watson. Don't get me wrong. Like, those are the 2 most important pieces, but it's nice to have a little bit more news to talk about. So I guess we'll start with them anyway. So 4 days ago, so I think it was on the first or second day of camp, Chubb was seen running full sprints at practice with a VIP looking on, that VIP being the owners, the Haslam's. But Mary Kay Cabot said that Nick Chubb was running full sprints after practice and cutting with what she says was tremendous agility. It was remarkable. We weren't allowed to film it, but Jimmy Haslam watched the whole thing and looked very pleased. So update number 1, Nick Chubb is sprinting and cutting. So I'm in tears right now because this is remarkable. This should have been a 15-month recovery, and we're not even at 10 months. So I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but this is crazy. Number 2, Deshaun Watson. He was throwing full go in practice, and I don't know if it's I saw Kevin tweeted out that once he was going to be going full go throwing in padded practices too. So all things are go for Deshaun Watson. Green lights all around. He is back to form. Obviously, it's just going to take some conditioning. And, I saw some tweets saying he was a little rusty at first, but towards the end of the 7-on-7 segment, he was 100% completion, throwing darts. So looks like we've got some good news there. And he also said at one of his, interviews that he's dropped a little bit of weight, but he's added muscle and is in the best shape of the past couple of years. So keep an eye out for Deshaun, his mobility, and just his ability to get around and throw the ball. Next ones, 2 significant ones, kind of surprises, really. Dalvin Tomlinson had a knee scope, I believe it was a week ago, and Greg Newsome also had surgery. He had a hamstring injury.
Right.
And so both of those were a bit of a surprise, I think, that were announced right on that first day of camp. And then sort of the last thing to touch on, or the last couple things, are just updates, I guess. Obviously, we know Nyheim Hines had his ACL injury preseason. He is on the active non-football injury list, but we should expect him to be activated pretty soon here. D'Anthony Bell was on the PUP list for a shin. And then, of course, Jack Conklin, who had his knee injury at the beginning of last season. I would anticipate he should hopefully return anytime soon and see where he's going to play. I saw some interesting things, which we can get into if we want to, that kind of put him maybe moving over to the left side and keeping DeWand on the right side. But that's a little bit of speculation, remains to be seen. But I don't hate the idea, not going to lie.
Okay, I've got a couple of things to talk about. I'm going to start with Isabel. I'm going to start with the family group chat that just went off.
I can't read it. What happened?
My mom just texted and said, ha, 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 ha. I hope you're listening to Allie's podcast. She was just talking about you. And Isabel goes, what'd she say? And she's talking about City Barbecue and said how you have to hook her up, but you have to go give him a shout out. And Isabel goes, done. And I said,
okay, see, I put the challenge out there. Now I'll go talk to my good friends over at City Barbecue. All she has to do is, this is simple. All she has to do is go try it, do a little video little video snip and give a shout out to Here We Go Brownies, and then post it or give it to Allie to post and put it out on our page. Done.
All we gotta do is that's all we gotta do. Then my dad texted me and said, "I do listen to Bob Golick more than you." Haha. Classic. Okay, so
Wow.
in terms of what you actually said, David, I want to talk about Jack Conklin. I want to talk about that direction. You know, you mentioned a little bit of speculation there and bringing him over to the left side. That's quite interesting. And I do want to bring me back to the whole Greg Newsome situation, the Anthony Bell. I do want to talk about that and what that means for the secondary. But we saw what an absolutely depleted offensive line looked like last year. Now, when you're coming back from, was it a patellar tendon tear or whatever Jack had, you know, that's a pretty significant injury also. But to come back and not only come back from a significant injury, but also move to the other side of the offensive line, you know, David, that's going to be a pretty potential difficult thing to deal with, right? As a veteran player.
Yeah, certainly, like, you know, as we know with any player recovering from a major injury, I mean, I don't know the exact details, but, you know, things I read, he suffered a multi-ligament injury to his knee, much like Nick Chubb. And so may have been MCL, ACL. Either way, major surgery, major recovery. Now, obviously, his was a lot earlier in the season than Chubb's. And so his recovery is probably on track to be available September, October. But that remains to be seen because he's not nearly as much in the public eye as Nick Chubb is. But obviously just recovering from that and getting back to playing is the first step. But yeah, then talking about possibly moving him over to the other side of the line. I mean, I don't know a ton about his history when he was in Tennessee or even, you know, pre-NFL when he was in college. But a lot of these guys can shift from the left side to the right side with not too much difficulty. And I mean, I say that being a high school football player and having no more experience than that. And so not that I have any expertise to speak up on it, but, you know, the tackle position, for the most part, you know, it's a pretty specific role and it can be interchangeable. I mean, we've seen plenty of guys move from one side to the other. And when you're talking about, you know, Conklin and DeJuan Jones, I mean, DeJuan is a huge human being. I mean, a massive human being, but maybe doesn't have the same mobility, which is what you need. You need a little more mobility on the left side. If it's your quarterback's blind side, you got to be able to move a little faster and protect your quarterback from getting hit from behind. And so Jack's got that when you compare him to DeJuan. And so I think it makes sense to leave DeJuan at right tackle if he's going to be a starter for this offensive line, which he should be. And I have no doubt that Jack will be able to pick that up and fit into the left side without issue. You know, I know we still have Jedrick on the roster as well, and he was a great fill-in last year at times, but he also had his issues. And so I don't think Jack would have too much of a learning curve to go through, especially with all this time off. I mean, he's recovering and rehabbing. Plenty of time to learn what it's like on the left side, at least from a mental preparation standpoint. And so when it comes to reps and getting in there, footwork, a lot of it's going to remain the same. And I think he wouldn't have too much of a difficulty or too much of a hard time transitioning over to the other side of the line.
Okay.
I have
Dustin, sorry.
Yeah. So you brought up a really good point. I mean, I see the look on your face, and I mean, you are a medical professional, and you almost had kind of like a shocked look on your face when you see the Mary Kay stuff she's putting out, the VIP. Put this into perspective for the fans. Like you said, this is normally a 15-month process versus a 10-month. And what you're seeing, is this like crazy, like that a human can come back from this? I mean, I know it's Nick Chubb, and I always say, you know, don't ever count out Nick Chubb on his progression, right? Or if he comes back early. But from a very professional perspective, the fact that you're seeing, or at least hearing, right? You're not seeing physically with your eyes, but what you're hearing is happening at camp. And let's just transport that to what you see in real life in front of your professional career with, you know, military people that, you know, have extreme things happen with their body. Like, isn't this crazy? Like that somebody's like this super. Now, again, we all know that he goes to the best doctors in the world and, you know, has the best science and the best trainers and all that stuff. But to me, that is crazy if he rolls out in mid-September onto the playing field at running back for the Cleveland Browns, right? That's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. First of all, to answer Peggy, I am Allie's biggest fan. Beyond that, It's truly remarkable. Now, I haven't worked with NFL athletes, and so I don't necessarily see that as you alluded to. But when I think about my Marines or my sailors who have ACL injuries and get back to it, they're not sprinting, running, cutting, jumping at 8 months after a multi-ligamentous knee surgery. I mean, these guys they take a long time to recover from this. And like I said, truthfully, 12 months after this is optimistic. 15 months is really kind of the anticipated time frame and what I would tell the majority of my patients. And so to hear that he's sprinting, cutting, planting, on the field 8 months after his second surgery in training camp is truly remarkable. Nothing short of, honestly, a miracle. I mean, it is, I think, a testament to one, just his great determination. I mean, Stefanski was quoted a little bit saying like he's the hardest worker. He always has been. He always will be. He's there early. He's staying late, doing his rehab on top of preparing for the season. I mean, so not only is he preparing for the season and the installation of plays and kind of just getting ready for what the offense is going to look like, but he's also doing his rehab on top of that. And so he's there putting in the time. And he's also just, it also, I think, speaks towards modern medicine and what we're able to accomplish and provide for these people who have these significant injuries that frankly are devastating for majority or a small majority or a large minority of the population. And so to see him and hear these reports of him already sprinting and cutting is nothing short of remarkable for me. And at the end of the day, I'm not a skeptic. I'm not. I try to be realistic, but at the end of the day, I'm an optimistic person. I like to see things glass half full, and so I believe it, and I encouraged by it. But I still want to see the real thing. I want to see it on the field, and come September, October, November, whenever it is, that's when we'll know for sure. That's the best assessment of his recovery and where he's at. And until then, we won't know for sure. But I mean, it's all very encouraging and surprising.
So let's turn it over to Greg. Greg Newsome underwent surgery, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
He had a hamstring surgery, and I can find very little information about this. The report says Stefanski said when he announced it that he's hopeful for him to return week 1. I don't know what surgery he had where he's going to return week 1. Week 1 is 5 weeks from now. And when I hear hamstring surgery, I think a tendon repair. So this is all speculation. I have no idea what the extent of his injury was, but anytime there's a high-level athlete who has a hamstring injury that requires surgery, I think that they tore their tendon off the bone, and you have to make an incision under the butt cheek, go back in, and repair that tendon back to the bone. And I mean, the initial 6 weeks alone, you're not fully weight-bearing. You're using crutches, and your leg you're not supposed to like our rehab would not be to straighten the leg out all the way so you don't put tension on that repair. So he may have not had a full repair. It may have just been like a cleanup and kind of, hope and a prayer. I don't know. I don't know what it was. And so to hear that he may be back by week 1 is surprising to me if he had a hamstring injury that required surgery. I mean, we've talked about it before, but Ali, you know what it's like watching a player have a hamstring injury suffer through an entire season. JSN 2 years ago. I mean, it was miserable trying to hope that this guy would play for the Buckeyes, and he had a hamstring injury that just lingered all year long. And so if it was something serious enough to require surgery, I am skeptical. This is where I am skeptical about someone being available 5 weeks from now. But again, I don't know what it was. It could have been as simple as just there was some torn degenerative tissue. They felt like cleaning it up is all it needed. They didn't repair it. I could see that. I could see that returning in 6 weeks. But if they repaired it, he's not back until October. So I don't know what to think with that.
Because I was going to say, I've seen hamstring injuries and lingering problems with players, and very rarely does it result in some type of surgery. If it does, it's a very scheduled off-season surgery, and it happens at the very beginning of the off-season.
Right. And I mean, it's similar to repairing a biceps tendon or a triceps tendon. And we saw what happens with the biceps tear last season. I mean, those are not 5 week recoveries back to starting as an NFL cornerback. So I'm very curious to see what more details come out of that, if any, and if he's actually available by week 1 or 2 or not.
So
which obviously is a blow. I mean, he's a starting cornerback, and so that's pretty scary to think about.
I think that's James' question here: is who will fill in for him? I've heard the safety that was rookie last year. I can't think of his name. Right, and had a bunch of playing time. So I mean, Ronnie Hickman's a safety. Greg Newsome is
Ronnie's not playing cornerback.
No, so we can probably expect. I mean, Denzel, you can expect. Obviously, MJ Emerson on the other side, but to fill in its slot, that's a big question because it's not who can fill in an outside corner. It's who can fill in the slot position. It's tough. So I do want to pull up the Browns' depth chart as it stands right here, right now, today on who technically would be up for Greg Newsome, and it would be stand by. Miles Harden is next up on that list. So I don't mean to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about here, but I don't know what I'm talking about here. I think that would be a pretty difficult thing to speculate. Frankly, James, I think that they would have to bring in somebody. I don't think that the answer is on this roster. Now, we've talked about how good the secondary is. Secondary combining, obviously, the cornerbacks and the safeties. But when you're looking at just the cornerback position and who can fill in a non-outside role, I have some question marks. I've got a couple of concerns there. You do have Justin Hardy. You do have guys like Vincent Gray that can step in, but to be able to do it, or Cam Mitchell. Actually, Cam Mitchell's probably the answer. Cam Mitchell is the answer at slot.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I was suddenly going through my head. I'm like, Cam Mitchell makes so much sense.
Outside of Cam Mitchell, I don't know. I think outside of Cam Mitchell, it is somebody that is not currently on this roster. I have a little bit of a hesitation here when you look at this cornerback room, not the secondary overall, but the cornerback room specifically in a slot position. There are some question marks. If it's not Greg, it's Cam, but if it's not Cam, I can't answer that. And that's kind of a little bit of a scary thought going into this, but you're looking at 3 deep, probably the case for most teams. So we'll see. We're going to see. D'Anthony Bell. Let's talk about that a little bit.
So I don't have a ton on that. The report that I saw on ClevelandBrowns.com just said, he's placed on the PUP list with a shin injury. In terms of what that could be, certainly the shin, there's many afflictions, I guess you could say, but at the end of the day, it's probably contusion or even shin splints, something as simple as that. It's not necessarily something that's going to limit him for the season and probably just needs a couple days or weeks of rest or some modified activity. But I imagine he should be able to return without much issue. There isn't a lot of like most of these. There's not a ton of details. But unless it's not like we're looking at like a Zach Zinter thing where he actually fractured his tibia and broke his leg and needed surgery to repair it. And so my guess is this is just a contusion, whether it was from over like ramping up too quickly and got shin splints, or actually got hit in the shin and just caused a bruise that's pretty painful. I wouldn't expect this to be a long-term thing, and I imagine he'll be activated any day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's optimistic. I think the biggest thing here is the whole Greg Newsome situation, right? And we'll continue to monitor that as we go through the next couple of weeks here. So hopefully Stefanski's right. And this is just kind of thrown in the air as we don't know what happened in terms of surgery, but we've got him week 1 and that's okay. Yeah. Or we will come to you with some points of clarification here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see.
Yep. And of course, with Tomlinson, obviously that's of significance too, having a knee arthroscopy. But my guess is if they expect him to return week 1, it was probably just a cleanup, whether it was a meniscus tear that couldn't be repaired and they just, shaved up and removed the damaged portion, or if there was some cartilage injury that just was a minor thing. If they expect him to be back week 1, that would not surprise me if that's all it took. A couple weeks off to get the wounds to heal, then get back into shape, do some conditioning and some footwork, and then he'll be back good to go.
Cool. All right, David, we appreciate you. We love you. Me especially. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
I love you. Go Browns.
All right. So we've got some question marks going into the next couple of weeks as it pertains to injuries, which bad for the Browns, right? We don't want injuries. We do not hope for them. We do not pray for them, but that's give us something to talk about and come to you with some informed takes. Dustin, why should you tell our friends about True Fan Travel?
True Fan Travel, guys. Who doesn't want to us for the Raiders game in Las Vegas. First time the Browns have played the Raiders in Las Vegas, so it's like a vacation and a Browns game all in one. Join truefantravel.com today. They also have a private charter flight. So if you've already booked your room or got your tickets, just get on the charter flight with our good friend of the program and get on there and have so much fun with Josh Cribbs. Who doesn't love Josh Cribbs? Get on that plane. Join me. I'll be on that plane. It'll be a great time as we go down to Las Vegas, Nevada for that amazing football game against the Las Vegas Raiders. But if you can't make it, how does New Orleans sound? How does Washington?
Sounds pretty good to me. I'm about 2.5 hours away from New Orleans. So that
Right.
sounds
So
pretty fun.
Allie, I think I'll talk to the folks at True Fan Travel, but maybe you'll have to host for the New Orleans game. Guess who is hosting that game? Our good friend Kevin Mack, the guy's golf cart you hit. So you guys can have a little bit of so you can have a little bit of reuniting down there in New Orleans.
I gotta tell you, that's not gonna happen. It's the day after my wedding, so no.
Oh,
not gonna
well, we all know that's not happening for me either.
That's not gonna happen. We'll both be at that wedding, so
right,
unfortunately. Exactly. But if anybody else in the area wants to go, sounds fun.
Good point. I forgot that falls right after your wedding.
The day after.
But on that Sunday, right? Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah, we'll be at a game watch party that's hosting.
But yeah, long story short, that is going to be happening. Or if you want to go to Washington, D.C., Top Dog Hanford Dixon will be out there. But then you got Jacksonville and other games that they're hosting as well. So if you can't make it to that one and you're in the other areas, go to the other games. It'd be a lot of fun. Yeah,
it will be a lot of fun. You know what else is a lot of fun? Kind of new to me. This is very recent. It's not something that I've been in on, but it's some MMA fighting. So I want to tell you about our friends over at excuse me, I gotta pull it up here. I don't know why it's not available. Over at Cage Thunder. Dustin, while I'm pulling this up, tell our friends about Cage Thunder.
Yeah, Cage Thunder is going to be at Jacobs Field. August 18th is going to be down there. Sorry, August 17th is going to be down there in the flats, guys. This is going to be exciting. August 17th, Saturday night, biggest MMA fight ever to be since 2019 in Cleveland. Multiple fighters will be at this. We're actually going to have one of the fighters on probably to talk about his love for Cleveland and the fight here probably in a couple of weeks. There you go, Allie. You'll get all fresh.
Get into it. Here's the video we have for him. Sorry this was not available at the time of me bringing this up. Here it is.
Kind of cool being back where my hometown is, you know, gives me a little refresher when I was young, reminds me why I'm doing it, you know. I think it's a little more motivating than usual, actually, for once. I move different than most people. I can feel it, I can see it. It's not all about, you know, who can do mitts better, etc. I can feel for it. This is just something that has always come natural to me. This is all I do. You know, I've morphed to know as much as I can about this craft, you know, mentally and physically and everything. But before I even started it, I knew I understood combat a little better than the average person, I like to think. Because once I get a hold of somebody or I hit them, they feel the difference.
There you have it, everybody. One thing to note, Jason says, Allie, I never received my wedding invitation. Jason, I heard that you are Dustin's plus one. So I'll see you there.
This show is full of surprises tonight. Allie, you always surprise me. Oh, my lands. Well, we're going to talk off camera about that. So
yeah, just do what I do. Just do what I do. I'm just here for a good time. That's it. But that is it. That's all we got for you tonight. Dustin, any closing thoughts as we wrap up on a beautiful Wednesday evening?
Well, Allie, the clock will strike midnight here in about 3 hours. In August, where did the summer go? August is here. Football is in the air. Training camp, August 10th. The Cleveland Browns will be hosting the Green Bay Packers. Football is close, and we are ready. This city is starting to get electric. The fans, like I said, they all showed up tonight in their brown and orange. It was super cool. I think full disclosure, I do this, so I'm assuming there's a lot of other people wear brown stuff here year round. You're not shocked by that, right? Even during other seasons of football and baseball and all that. But I will tell you, there you go. See, but we need to dedicate about 10 minutes of a podcast in the near future to what the Cleveland Guardians did. I'm telling you what they went and got out there on the cheap right at the deadline, and what they're doing right now in baseball. They are tied for the best record in baseball. Let me say that again. Yes, that's not a joke. The Cleveland Guardians are the.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Not to, answer this in 30 seconds, but better team, this year's Guardians or the 2016 Indians? Better team. Who you got?
I'm going to say they're equal. I know that's a really cop-out, but let me explain why.
Come on, it's not fun.
Hang on. It's the body of work is not done, right? It's August. There's 2 more.
Okay, let me say this. Today's team, today's Guardians, facing off against the World Series Indians. Who wins that game?
Who would win it?
Yeah, who's winning that game?
I think the 2016 team would be better, but let me tell you this: this team has no pressure on it and is playing. They are playing fun baseball. Ramirez just went into second place against Albert Bell all time for home runs. This team is playing loose, and that's a much more dangerous team to face in the playoffs because there's no expectations for this team. They are playing the way they want to. So let me tell you, this is an exciting baseball team, and this is the one. And I've already said this on record, and I want this cut, edited. The next championship in Cleveland, Ohio, and this could be a hot take, but I do not think so. The next championship where they're going to have a parade down the streets of Cleveland, Ohio, is going to be for the 2024 Cleveland Guardians. This team is going to win a World Series.
Yep, I'm with you. I believe you. I'm 100% on that. I do think the 2016 Indians, I agree, Jason, had better pitching. They're going to win that battle. But nothing to lose, Guardians. I'm all in. Things you love to see. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy. And as always, Browns fans, Browns.
Go Browns.